This video contains content which some may find disturbing or be sensitive to, as well as jump scares when viewing episodes. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. The year is 1998. On June 13th, a mysterious virus begins its spread across the earth in a more unusual way. The virus spreads through processes as simple as eye contact with another infected individual and is contracted on immediate sight of those contaminated with the Medusa virus. In news of this, the White House publicly sent out an Emergency Alert System broadcast, or EAS for short, warning those alive of the virus's presence, and lays the foundation on what steps to take in order to protect yourself. Little do they know, this is just the beginning of the end. In this video, we will be taking a deep dive analysis into an analog horror by the amazingly talented guys and girls over at MythicalFilms, known as Stone Cold. The video is a long one, so sit back and relax, grab a snack and some drinks, and buckle up for the journey you and I are about to embark on. The story starts with an AS from the White House itself on how to survive the imminent danger just outside of your very walls.
We interrupt our programming at the request of the White House. This is the emergency alert system. All normal programming has been discontinued during this emergency. This is not a test. I repeat, this is not a test. Please stand by. Please stand by.
This is a national emergency. During the past night, we have received multiple sightings and reports of so-called demon eyes. We have been fighting hard to eliminate the virus through sanitation and quarantine of the infected. With severe losses among our ranks, we have resorted to cleansing the contaminated of our country.
Cleansing the contaminated, huh? As it was stated in episode 1, over 23 sightings of these demon eye phenomena have been recorded. Plus, the US are fighting to eliminate the virus through methods of sanitation, quarantine, and eradication of the so-called contaminated. In addition, we are advised to not use telephones, and this does not include communication before certain death, which is the strange part. Who are we actually communicating with in this? For now, let's see what else there is to learn here.
Lock all doors if possible, and blind all windows. Do not attempt to go outside, and do not attempt to help the infected. When in close vicinity of an infected individual, keep your head down and do not attempt to look at their eyes. Avoid human interaction at all costs. Do not attempt to blind yourself.
What'll I do? I long for somebody who will sympathize with me. I'm growing so tired of living alone. I lie awake all night and cry. Nobody loves me, that's why. All by myself in the morning. All by myself in the night. I sit alone in a cozy Morris chair, so unhappy there. I get lonely watching the clock on the shelf. I'd love to rest my weary head all by myself.
So from what we can gather, the virus spreads through what seems to be eye contact. How and why is unknown, but we have to avoid looking up at all costs, thus stripping away our sight. But this is just first of many, and things will get a lot worse. Symptoms of the Medusa virus vary depending on the stage of infection, which all astronauts ruminate, except for the final stage, which has no set culmination. Stage 1. Contamination through eye contact. The eyes and eye area will start to swell and pupils will expand abnormally large. The infected may experience heavy sweating, nausea, and pain in the upper facial area. Currently, tests have concluded that the virus can be eliminated at this stage through surgical removal of the eyeballs. Stage 2. During this stage, the infected will be permanently blinded in one, if not both eyes. Severe nausea, vertigo, and fainting may happen occasionally. Subjects in this stage will experience extreme pain and near paralysis. Beyond and including this stage, elimination of symptoms or the virus is not possible. Patients may die during this stage. Stage 3. The final stage. As more muscle mass is lost, full paralysis of all areas below the neck and above the chin will occur about 35 seconds into this stage. Infected persons have been observed to angle their heads towards people and make quiet whimpering sounds. Studies show these may be calls for help, but citizens are advised to refrain from any contact. It is speculated that patients will hear loud voices in their heads, and before the paralysis, will start to scream loudly. Strokes may happen and the eyeballs will explode, allowing direct infection of the eyeball wounds. It is unknown how this wound can infect, but scientists are actively conducting tests. So it seems, once a person becomes infected with the Medusa virus, they go through stages of progressively worsening symptoms, pain, infection, and at the end, the victim's eyes explode, allowing for the so-called direct infection. In regards toward if it infects others or just the afflicted, it is currently unknown.
Discovery Report on Investigative Procedures of the Medusa Virus, as of August 5, 1998. Report submitted by Dr. Engler from the National Virology Lab of the United States of America. All findings and results shall be kept confidential, unless pardoned by the President of the United States.
Episode 2, going by the name of Redolence, seems to provide us with some more of the overarching story in the world of Stone Cold itself, beginning with what seems to be CCTV footage of an unknown person walking face down. It soon cuts to an interview of a company going under the name the National Virology of Lab Research Reports, or NVL. Alongside this, we also obtained some handheld camera footage of an unknown character walking at night. But weirdly, not looking down. Whether this is someone who is infected, or someone unfortunate and unaware of the steps they need to survive, it just doesn't add up very well.
"2:30 p.m. EST, June 13, 1998. Results from testing this morning has concluded that the Medusa virus's symptoms are different than we thought. The swelling of the eyeballs seems to be caused by the virus moving through the bloodstream towards the brain and face where it can replicate best. The violent travel of the blood seems to be extremely damaging to the cerebellum and spinal nerves. Further tests will be done to conclude how the virus is contracted." "2:46 p.m. EST, June 17, 1998. No information has been found about the transmission of the virus. We believe it has something to do with eye contact activating the amygdala and causing a sense of threat, which somehow allows the virus to enter the body without being noticed by the immune system. A test will be completed later today among the frozen corpses to see why this is." "11:51 p.m. EST, June 17, 1998. After careful recalculation and rerunning of trials, we have still not been able to find out anything. If knowledge is control, it seems we humans are not in control anymore. No cure has been discovered here, but we will have to cross-check that with the other teams." "1:04 p.m. EST, August 5th, 1998. While testing a cure that melts the virus proteins, we have stumbled across a new mutation of the virus. The strain seems to be much lighter than the previous one and has evolved to be transmitted through the air. But unlike other airborne diseases, the virus seems to be in complete control of the direction it floats in. The symptoms are not confirmed to be the same."
"Dr. Engler, I've inhaled it. The seal wasn't gas-proof.
On June 13th, 1998, the NVL had discovered through testing that the Medusa virus itself flows through the bloodstream of an infected and to the head of the victim. The virus seems to replicate best here, but yet it is unknown why. But we do know it is said to be extremely damaging to the cerebellum and the spinal nerves. For those who are unsure, the cerebellum and spinal nerves play a very important role for motor function, muscle control, and overall balance of the body. And wouldn't you know, after contracting Medusa, stages 2 to 3, near and full body paralysis. "2:46 p.m. EST, June 17th, 1998. No information has been found about the transmission of the virus. We believe it has something to do with eye contact activating the amygdala, and causing a sense of threat, which somehow allows the virus to enter the body without being noticed by the immune system. As stated in the test reports, Medusa virus attacks or activates the amygdala, creating a sense of threat. For those who are once again unsure, the amygdala is a small part within the brain that essentially controls our emotions and also the fight or flight response within a person. Maybe the virus attacks the amygdala in a way to remove the ability to use its natural response. But once again, we alongside the NVI just aren't sure yet. 11:51 PM EST, June 17th, 1998. After careful recalculation and rerunning of trials, we have still not been able to find out anything. If knowledge is control, it seems we humans are not in control anymore. No cure has been discovered here, but we will have to cross-check that with the other teams. 1:04 PM EST, August 5th, 1998. While testing a cure that melts the virus's proteins, we have stumbled across a new mutation of the virus. The strain seems to be much lighter than the previous one and has evolved to be transmitted through the air. But unlike other airborne diseases, the virus seems to be in complete control of the direction it floats in. The symptoms are not confirmed to be the same, but on June 17th, a cure has still not been discovered, but Dr. Angler says something quite odd. If knowledge is control, it seems we humans are not in control anymore. This could be regarding the virus and how it takes over a patient's mind, but you heard what he said. We humans. Whether this is his way of saying humanity is doomed to fall by this virus, or if they are being controlled in mass by some mysterious host, we are left ultimately with more questions than actual answers here. August 5th, a whole 49 days after the last recording, the NVI has discovered the virus is transmissible through the air. Not only that, it can control its very own path of trajectory. If this virus is somehow sentient and capable of moving of its own accord, then we as humanity in this world is in a lot more trouble than we ever thought. Other than that, we have glimpses of footage from this strange camera walking to what seems to be the middle of nowhere, through alleyways, unlit roads with passing cars, eventually ending up in what seems to be a rural section of land or the middle of a forest with lights just off in the distance. What the overall meaning of this journey is yet to be discovered.
When shooting at the sky, aim slightly above the target. Although shooting at infected flocks often only injures the bird, it is the best method currently accessible. In the case of an attack by a large flock of birds, such as hawks or pigeons, the best weapon of choice is the shotgun. Aim for the center of the flock and load with birdshot. The virus attacks the brain of the birds, causing them to caw or almost scream abnormally loudly, creating strange sound waves which can be deafening. Any human who hears the sound will likely go crazy or have the survival urge to go outside and silence the source of the sound. This, however, is dangerous due to the risk of inhalation of the Medusa virus in gas form. Here is a sample of the sound.
Episode 3 starts off with what seems to be a set of instructions and tips on how to deal with a flock of birds which are attacking you. For some reason. Anyways, these instructions are coming from the FBI themselves, which is somewhat strange. Why would the FBI announce a message on how to dispatch a large group of birds to the mass public of many matter? Furthermore, it stated shooting at infected flocks. If birds can also be infected by the Medusa virus, then that is an enormous problem for survivors potentially. But as always, we just don't know.
We interrupt our programming at the request of the White House. This is the emergency alert system. All normal programming has been discontinued during this emergency. This is not a test. I repeat, this is not a test. Please stand by. Please stand by. This is a national emergency. The virus is now known to infect birds of all types, from sparrows to eagles. Wear earplugs at all times, and lock doors and windows with locks even you cannot break through even with a key. You must prevent your own escape in case you hear the shrieks. You will lose control. The fight or flight response will be activated upon the brain registering the sound. Going outside will be uncontrollable and inevitable when this happens, and inhalation of the Medusa virus is
One must really learn to live less. I miss the flying grass outside. I miss the smells of the market. I'm missing my friend who looked into the wrong eye. What happened to human power? I can't see the sky anymore.
What these quotes are implying is entirely up for discussion and is a matter of ambiguity. But what we can gather from the last line, these sirens have resorted to a different food source than normal. Human meat. Episode 3 is packed to the very brim with info to take in. and is not the good kind. So we now have confirmation that all species of birds are being infected. Not only that, they have the ability to draw victims out using a form of mind control through these uses of shrieks and screams that are entirely unnatural in nature. Being so dangerous as to warrant the use of locking doors and windows, removing the key entirely from memory via disposal. From what is implied, this form of mind control must be very violent and effective against us humans, resulting in another precaution of wearing constant ear protection to avoid the forceful exit of your home. Without any resistance, and inhalation of the virus is inevitable. Whispering can also be heard at one point, however unfortunately I sadly couldn't make out what was being said here. Also, this singular line of text, this one line itself, has to be one of the most gripping lines I have ever seen in an analog horror. What happened to human power?
And I'm not talking about the weather. Because with no lasting matter, as many of us, in fact, all of us, will have to cut down on food and drink consumption. Produce affected by being the worldwide food shortages, limited farming. What's next? Demons?
Hello?
Yes.
Bro, why are you calling so late? It's like, what, 9 p.m.?
Well, it's 12, but this is important.
What's up?
Just check the news. Food shortages everywhere. First had eye contact, now we can't even grow crops or eat.
Hey, listen, I'll call you back later. I'm, up to something right now.
Alright, but check the articles I sent over. Also, don't call me back.
Why, something up?
Nah, just the government being strict on telephone usage. Anyway, stay safe.
Okay, I'll call you tomorrow. See ya.
Alright, bye.
Episode 4 is a little more subtle with its story and lore. First off, we are introduced to two brand new characters, both Bill and Martin. Episode 4 takes the perspective of Martin in his home about 12 PM midnight. Scattered across the floor of Martin's room is a newspaper with headlines of national food shortages. To the right are some top stories which unfortunately are too hard to make out as of now, but one section in the middle mentions a golden age of sorts. What that means isn't known. However, it could mean a time before the Medusa virus began its overall destruction of mankind. Martin receives a movement detection alert on his computer, prompting him to immediately investigate. Looking outside of his home with the door wide open, going against all safety guidelines by not locking his doors and keeping them locked. He then receives a call from his friend Bill Barlow with requests to check articles he sent to Martin's email. From what we can gather, this episode takes place sometime in modern day, with references regarding the pandemic which shall not be named and the current situation involving Ukraine. Nevertheless, on the right hand side of the page, there is a few more top stories. Mystery vines cover homes in rural Indonesia, and doctor from NVA, Dr. Angler, confirmed dead at a hospital. To recap, Dr. Angler was the man researching the symptoms and characteristics of the Medusa virus, which makes his death suspicious to say the least. Angler could have died from exposure to the Medusa virus via working and testing with it, or it could have been something more nefarious at play. As Martin scrolls down, we can read about a strange black sludge, which seems to limit crop lifespan, and it is advised to stay clear and away from this substance and to remain indoors as normal. And weirdly, one 26-year-old George Maybo arrested on charges for cannibalism. And he's not the only one trying this solution due to food shortage. All the streets of Thailand are now tearing in to this new method of consumption. Before we can learn more, a break-in. And this is when we finally get our first look at the infected and what can happen to a person. The contaminated humanoid is tall and slender in shape and size, with what looks to be grey leathery skin. And unfortunately for Martin, he just looked into the eyes of the beast, and it stared back.
We interrupt our programming at the request of the White House. This is the emergency. This is not a test. I repeat, this is not a test. Please stand by. Please stand by.
scientific discovery believed to be a form of vaccination or cure. Many of you at home may be beginning to lose hope. With over 3/4 of the population either infected and about to die or dead already, and the rest of us terrified at home. Rest assured that scientific breakthrough is on the way. The National Virology Lab brings you updates for those still alive to watch. About similar discoveries about yet another mutation of the virus. Do not panic.
New symptoms have been discovered. These include a sort of cold sensation around the neck and chest area, similar to as if cold hands were wrapped around you in kind of an insidious hug, or a chokehold rather. You may be familiar with the feeling when someone is standing right behind you. The warmth on your neck notifying you of their presence. Well, many patients have reported a similar feeling, only with an icy breath. When infected with this strain of the virus, nicknamed MythicalFilms, paralysis sets on much slower and patients seem to be, well, in a state of horror and panic, although unable to move.
This information to those who may remain alive. May God help us all.
As per recent discoveries conducted by drainage professionals, the Medusa virus has found its way into our ventilation and drainage. This means that the use of aircon or ventilation is strictly disallowed. Do not turn on your aircon. If a thick orange gas seems to steam from any drainage, be sure to cover your mouth and tell your children goodbye. Lock yourself inside, and make sure to consistently clean drainage pipes with any cleaning fluid registered to limit the spread of contamination. If, however, your complex relies on ventilation to filter and bring in fresh air, I'm sorry. Clean your pipes and restrict AC usage. Stay Medusa free.
Three years of the Medusa virus has passed, which should put us roughly in May of 2001, and nobody has gotten even close to developing a cure or even a vaccine. Over 72% of the world's population in 2001 is infected. The population of 2001 being a number of 6.226 billion people, that is over 4.8 billion people infected or dead. The deadliest plague on Earth killed as many as 50 million. Granted, this was 1346, a whole 678 years ago, and the world population was a hell of a lot lower, sitting at around 475 million. But that is still only 9.5%, making the Medusa virus by far the deadliest pandemic in history. To top it off, one Dr. R. Meadows has discovered a new mutation of the virus itself. New symptoms include cold sensations around the neck and chest, as well as paralysis. However, the rate is much lower, and it seems to be afflicted to a state of horror and panic, rendering people immobilized. Recent discoveries by drainage professionals have also detected the virus is now able to spread through the ventilation systems, and they are now strictly disallowed, stopping clean air from being passed, thus suffocating people from the safety of their own homes. However, it is no longer metaphorical. So that is all the episodes of Stone Cold. I'm going to do my best to now put down a timeline of the sorts, as chronologically and in as much sense as I can myself. And I hope you're still enjoying. Take the time to grab a snack and get a drink refill during this section as we finish the rest of the story off by mapping out the timeline. To disclaim really quickly, this is my interpretation and should not be taken as full canon. It is just a theory. Let's begin. The Medusa virus shows up out of nowhere as a new strain of virus that may have pre-existed or could have been sent to the Earth by something not originating from our home planet. Regardless, the virus is insanely deadly with the ability to convert victims of it into monsters, missing their eyes and spreading its terrifying affliction through mere eye contact with a non-infected individual, making the virus incredibly easy to spread from person to person unknowingly. The White House catch on to the virus first by seems, with 23 reports of the virus emerging. Alongside this, the White House provides several safety guidelines and recommendations to help protect civilians from the virus. And the National Virology of Lab Research reports begun research on the Medusa virus, leading to the discovery of its method of spread and the symptoms that are most prominent, along with the discovery that the virus itself is transmissible through air and can control where it floats. Not too long after the discovery of the virus itself came a revelation of knowledge. Birds of any and all species are now capable to be infected. Once infected, birds will become violent and aggressive, swarming unsuspecting victims in huge flocks, emitting these terrifying screeches that practically hypnotize those. Episode 4 seems to be more modern, with talks of modernized topics, but this could be just coincidental. But I'll stay in the lane with the episodic format for now. Nonetheless, Episode 4 introduces us to Martin. It is unknown if he plays a big role in the world, yet he and his friend Bill exchange articles depicting the current problems unfolding in the period of time this episode takes place in, with top stories of Dr. Angler, the main researcher in the NVL, who unfortunately met his demise pretty suspiciously without context, and that crops worldwide are unable to grow due to a strange unknown black sludge, ruining the soil, creating food shortages, and due to this, cannibalism is on an active rise. In addition to all of this, we get our first look at the infected, overtowering any humans by a large margin, and all it takes for an infection is as small as a glance upwards in the wrong spot. And from what we saw, they are no stranger to an all-out attack, making an entity like this very, very intimidating. An entity like that, one unfazed by the laws of physics, is the most terrifying thing imaginable. Episode 5 takes place 3 years prior to the initial discovery of the Medusa virus itself. Up until this point, there has not been a single vaccine or cure, alongside the revelation of 72% of the world's population being infected, dying or dead. Dr. R. Meadows, researching the Medusa virus, discovered a new strain of the virus with a whole new set of symptoms, and furthermore, the virus is now able to find ways into the ventilation of homes, meaning there is not a single spot where anyone is safe in home. Okay, so that's it, my explanation of the timeline. So, yeah, this would make a lot of sense if not for one underlying issue. This isn't the final episode.
Hello, my name is Tom Adams, and well, I just want to make this in case something happens to me. There's this virus. Well, it's hard to say. There's this company that I tried to get away from. I usually hunt in these woods, and I came across a deer. I came across a deer with this horrible, it had an inflamed stomach, and, hold on, it had an inflamed stomach, and I think it's better if I talk to you and walk at the same time, or run, depending on the... Anyways, the virus, the company that I worked for, basically, they said they made the virus, and it was to be a weaponized program. It was to be a weaponized program. And so it was. But the problem is that it got out, and I was the first to inhale it. Me and another subject named Frank. Now my eyes feel very fucking weird, so this is gonna have to be my eyesight for a while, this video camera, while I look for Frank. The facility is right next to us. Now, the facility is right off these train tracks. Let me get a closer look. Alright. Let me go to containment site B. Just down here. The reason I'm talking and walking is because I feel like Frank is out here. He's already succumbed to the virus. I feel like he's already succumbed to the virus. Maybe I'm next. I hope not. Frank is what we call Site B. Okay, let me get down here. Oh! Shit. They couldn't have built this site on fucking flat ground. There it is. There it is. This is what I call containment site. Okay. Now it's leaking into the water as we speak. Turning the water into a weird, sickly color. Frank? Frank! Did you guys hear that? I think Frank's in there. Frank, it's gonna be okay. Frank? Frank, I just want to talk to you. Frank, it's me.
I usually hunt in these woods. Now, this changes everything. The virus didn't appear out of the blue. It was an engineered bioweapon. A weapon that proved more deadly than anyone could have ever imagined. Breaching containment and spreading into the vast open, we don't get much information about the company who created this strain of the virus, but what we do know, they are not one of good intentions. Our cameraman, Tom Adams, heads to what he calls Containment Site B, where he hears the cries of someone, a friend of his, Frank. Patient Zero. From what we have learned already, we know these cries are a method of drawing people to the infected location, leading Tom into a drainage tunnel or pipe of some sort, and to meet his untimely demise by the hands of Frank. We then see what seems to be a man staring at a wall in a cave, repeating Tom's phrase from the beginning, "I usually hunt in these woods." But now, it's a different hunt. A hunt on human lives. Proceeding after this, we get what seems to be a man in a high visibility vest and a hard hat, finding or retrieving Tom's camera from the tunnel, in which he died just a few meters ahead. And finally, to close it all off, he is infected. Humanity's suicide. Okay, we now have all the pieces for now, but there is still a bunch of questions to be asked. How does the White House tie into this? Did the military ever try to fight back against the infected? Did people find out if they have weaknesses, and unfortunately it is unknown. But what we can gather is, the military, like everyone else, is human. A definitive timeline is yet to be confirmed, but I have given my take on the things that are taking place within the analog horror itself, and tried to make it more understandable, but these are once again all theories, and sooner or later, Stone Cold Season 2 will be launching on the MythicalFilms YouTube channel. Link will be in the top of the description, and it will probably provide us with more context, story and lore to dig deep back into, but till the day comes, we remain blind in a world that is stone cold of any life.